Hello, hello, hello. What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the Hope Shot. We got Melissa on tonight. We got Kelly on tonight, and we got a special guest sharing her story. We got Caesar, but
I'm here too. I'm here.
He's here. He's always here.
I'm specialer.
Yeah, a little bit.
Out of here.
Hey guys, hope you guys are having a great weekend. If you guys are just jumping on, say what's up. Let us know you're here. And can you guys read the clarity statement?
I have it. I got the text. All right. The Hope Shot clarity statement. We here at the Hope Shot are a group of people in recovery spreading inspiration. We come from all different walks of life and pathways of recovery. Our verbiage may be different at times, but we all have one thing in common: recovery as a lifestyle. We support all pathways of recovery. Doesn't matter how you get from A to Z, just get there. Thank you for being a part of our family.
Thank you, Kelly, and thank you for being here. What's going on with y'all, man? How's the weekend going so far? I know Melissa's up there, got some weather going on, huh?
Yeah, it's rainy. It's Yoko Disgusto here, but
Disgusting.
we always find a way to have fun. Listen, we went and bought a dysfunctional family on a rainy day playing board games. How could you go wrong? We went and bought Trivial Pursuit. Well, I used to play it when I was a kid. And I was like, this will be fun. I introduced it to my kids, and I don't think we finished the game.
Dude, board games are underrated. I feel like since we need to get back to, we used to have
like recovery game nights.
And they were
It's so much fun.
They were so
much fun.
Like
there's
belly
so many,
laughing fun.
yeah, there's so many games that have been like revamped or whatever.
Not in a good way sometimes. They got Monopoly. We have Avatar Monopoly, and I'm like, what in the hell is going on? I have no clue. It's just like not even a Monopoly. It's like some kind of weird stuff, and my kids like to play it, but I'm like, what is going on?
What is this? I know. Same. I was like thinking it was going to be old school Trivial Pursuit, but anyway, it's fun to sit down and do that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? Our faces are always in our phones, or here lately, we've just been going in all different directions. My daughter is like graduating and she's got a job. She has a life, and softball came to an end. So she's going, and my son's had this, and it's the end of school year, which means they want you to do 100 billion thousand things that they didn't fit in all year long. I have a job. I have sober now. And so and my husband has a job. So we were like, okay, so maybe it's good that it was a rainy weekend and we can just like sit here and find stuff to do. We actually talked about, we were reminiscing COVID. Remember like when all of a sudden we were all stuck in the house together and we're like, oh, what do we do now? Like it was kind of like that this weekend, but it's good. There's good that's come out of it. So nothing like
That's awesome. All right, I'm going to say what's up some peoples, and then Kelly's going to introduce our guest speaker tonight. Let's see. We got Belinda, peace and blessings from NYC. All right, we got Lindsay says, hello, fam. Good to see you. We got Lisa from Colorado. Hello from Colorado.
Tell us where you're from. This is my favorite part, seeing where everybody's from. It's so cool.
Tell us where you're from.
Tell us where you're from.
Let us know where you're viewing us from. And then we got Rowan. Good to see you. Hey, family. Love you guys. Love you too, Rowan. And then we got Jenna. Hey, guys. And then we have, we got Helen, Grandma Helen.
Hi, Helen.
All right. So, Kelly, you want to introduce our guests?
Yes. So we have a special guest tonight. Her name is Anna. And Anna is a friend of mine that I really got to know a little bit better this past year. And I'm not even sure that Anna knows how special she became to me and how quickly she became special to me. I was in a place this year where I don't really know how to explain it other than I'm a person who likes to continually go a level deeper with my growth and with my spirituality. Mm-hmm. And I was at a place where I just needed some additional spiritual guidance. And Anna is an amazingly talented, empathetic person when it comes to that ability to help people with their spiritual growth. And she was really able to walk me through some of that. So without telling, she has so many different talents and skills, and I learned something new about her all the time. So I'm very excited to have her on tonight. And without further ado, Justin, you want to bring Anna in?
Got it.
Yes.
Hi, Anna.
Hi. Hello, Hope Shot family. I try to tune into Hope Shot every Sunday night at 8 o'clock and have gotten to know some of you regulars through this show. And I just love everybody that supports this podcast. And I just love all the, all the hosts and just really feel honored and blessed to be on tonight to tell you my story. So, my sobriety date is July 1st of 2017, 7117. And July 1st, 2017, I did not wake up that morning planning to get sober today. Like that was not on my list of things to do today at all, at all. I woke up that morning hungover. I went to work hungover, and I had been in a relapse for 4 months after having 3 years of sobriety prior. During those 4 months, there was one woman in AA who did not give up on me. Her name was Jerry, and she didn't chase me, but every few weeks, I would get a text from her. I would get a phone call from her, asking me how I was doing, if I wanted to talk, if I wanted to meet for coffee, whatever. And of course, I would always blow her off, like make up some excuse for why I was busy and I didn't have time to talk or meet up with her or whatever. Because I didn't have a desire to stop drinking during that relapse. So, on July 1st, 2017, I woke up hungover. I went to work hungover, and I got a text from Jerry that she was sitting in the waiting room at the hospital while her husband was having heart surgery. And so what you guys need to understand is I was working at the hospital at the time, okay? And in that moment, there was literally no way for me to blow her off. And there was no way for me to not face her and go see her. Like there was no way for me to get out of it. She had me cornered. She was at my job, okay? And so I walk down to the waiting room, and I walk in the room and I find her, and she's sitting in a chair. And the first words out of her mouth were, "You look like shit." And I said, "Well, Jerry, I feel like shit. So at least my insides match my outsides." And I sat down, and she 12-stepped me right then and there. And I have to tell you, this is so funny because I was working as a chaplain, which is like a clinical spiritual care provider. Okay, so I was literally on the clock. It was my job. I was getting paid to do was to comfort women sitting in waiting rooms while their husbands are having heart surgery. Okay, and she's sitting there trying to save my life, right? Like, where else does that happen in the world? Like, except in recovery. Like, her husband's having heart surgery and she's thinking about me. Like, I don't know. You can't make this stuff up. Like, it's out of this world. So she became my sponsor that day. I got back into the meetings. I got back into the step work. I got back into working a program again. And I often think to myself, like, if it had not been for Jerry, like, how long would I have been out there? Like, would I have even made it back there? Which is questions that it's impossible to answer, but it's not lost on me that I don't owe her anything. I owe I owe the newcomer, right? It's my responsibility and my job is to pay forward to the next woman what Jerry did for me, right? And so I can't pay her back, but I can try to pay it forward. So backtracking a little bit and just give you a little bit of background. I grew up in an alcoholic home. Both of my parents are drug addicts. Both of my parents were pretty big time drug dealers in the town where I grew up. So I grew up in a trap house. They weren't called trap houses in the 90s. They were just called stash houses. And so the street dealers were in and out of the house all day, every day. There was always people in and out of the house all day, every day, all hours of the night. That was the environment that I grew up in. I am the youngest of 6 children, and all of my siblings are much older than me. So they were 8, 10, 12, 15, and 18 years old when I was born. And at a young age, I don't know the exact age I was when I started drinking. I don't remember a time in my life when I didn't drink, to be completely honest. I remember probably around 6 or 7 years old is like my earliest memory. So by that time, you got to understand my siblings were already late in their teens, early 20s, right? And my parents were always caught up in their own addictions and their own drama with each other, etc. And so I was really my siblings were really like my primary caretakers, right? Like they were the ones who were always stuck watching me and like, just kind of stuck with me. And they were like, there's this little girl that's like always around and we're stuck with her, but like we're not going to let that slow us down. Like we're going to do what we want and we're going to, live our lives and party like we want to. So all my siblings are also alcoholics and addicts. And they were all dealers too. They worked for my parents. It was the family business basically. So my earliest memory of drinking was, I think I was 6 or 7. And we were all, I was with my siblings and they were all drinking, partying. It was like they always did. And they thought it would be funny, I think, to see what would happen if I drank. And, we just drank by like throwing back shots. Like that's how we drank. And so they told me like to take the shot. And so I did. And I didn't get sick at all. I didn't like get tired and fall asleep. I just felt fine. And my oldest brother looked at me and said, "Look how she holds her liquor. She's one of us." And when somebody says something to you like that at such a young age, it really imprints on your soul. And from that time forward, like I always felt part of and like I belonged, when I was drinking with my siblings. And so at a really young age, a couple of other things happened in my life that made me start living what I call is like a double life. So I was really, really good in school, and I was like sent to like a special school for like academically gifted kids. And I was like, also, I was taken to church by a neighbor. Her name was Miss Cat. She was an elderly woman in my neighborhood. And I learned about like Jesus and Christianity, and like none of my family could relate to any of my life outside of the house. Like nobody else was like good in school. Nobody else went to church. Nobody else was into Jesus. Like it was weird because I was like, I didn't really fit in or belong in my family. And so I just started living this, what I call is like a double life. So I, at school and like at church, portrayed myself as this basically like a good girl, like a goody girl. Like that was my personality. That was my persona. Okay. And so even into like middle school and high school, when other kids my age were going to parties and were drinking, and I was like looked down upon them. I was like, no, I would never do something like that. Like that's, that's wrong. That's bad. Like that I'm too like goody for that, and I'm too Christian. I just love Jesus too much for that. And that was just like this persona that I had. And so I never drank with anyone except my siblings. They are the only ones who knew. They're the only ones who knew my little secret, right? They're the only ones that I drank with, and they were the only ones who knew the way that I drank. Nobody at school, none of my friends, like nobody, no one but my siblings knew how I drank. And I drank with them, and I drank to fit in and to belong and to be part of, because I was not brought into the family business. I was sheltered from it because I was good in school and because I was into church and Jesus and stuff. And so, I wasn't brought into the family business. So it was like a good thing in a way, but it also had the effect of making me feel like an outsider in my own family. So when I drank with my siblings, I felt part of, like I belonged. I left home, of course, after high school. I went to college, and I have to tell you this one funny story. So I started dating this boy in college who was like straight edge. I don't know if that's still a thing, but like back in 2002, it was like the cool thing to do, like he was a skater boy, and he was like in the punk rock band playing guitar, but like he didn't believe in drinking or drugs or anything. So I really wanted him to like me, and I was like, all right, I got to try to not drink while I'm with him, because I didn't want to lie to him, or hide it from him. And so that whole freshman year of college, I started drinking NyQuil like every night. And I would just tell myself, like, this isn't alcohol. Like back then, NyQuil had like 20% alcohol in it. But I would just tell myself, like, I'm not drinking. I'm just taking cold medicine. Like, never mind, I didn't actually have a cold, right? Like, details, schmeetails, like, that's the kind of thinking, the kind of mental gymnastics that my disease did. And so that was just like a weird part of my life. And then we broke up, and I ended up meeting another boy in college who was basically running the same game that I was. He had this persona that he was very religious, that he was, wanted to become a pastor of a church, and that was his persona, right? But he had a little secret too. He drank like I did. And it was a match made in hell, basically. And I ended up marrying him when I was 20 years old. It was a very toxic relationship. We were both very sick, and we made each other sicker and sicker and sicker. And I couldn't see that until I finally got sober. But it was rough. We were married for 10 years. At that time, I did not have any contact with my family, with my siblings or my parents. I kind of cut everybody off. I was trying to put my past behind me, put my childhood behind me, and I was trying to just like, I don't know, I just lived a very small, isolated life. I had no friends. We did go and we did both of us actually went to seminary. We ended up getting ordained as priests in the Methodist Church. We each got our own church. He pastored his own church. I pastored my own church. And, you know, and I worked, and I'll get into this in a little deeper way in a minute, how that kind of affected my relationship with God. My relationship with God during that time was very, very sick and twisted. I was trying to have a relationship with God. It's not like I was pretending like to have a relationship with God. Like I was actually trying to have one. It was just really sick and dysfunctional. But basically, you know, we just co-signed each other's bullshit, me and that guy. Like neither one of us ever said to the other one, like, you need to cut back how much you're drinking. Like that was not a thing. We gave each other complete freedom to drink however the hell we wanted to. And yeah. But what happened was he started racking up consequences a lot faster than I did. And the consequences of his drinking were really starting to screw with my drinking. You know, I could drink and drive and not get caught. He kept drinking and driving and getting DUIs, you know, and I couldn't figure out why he couldn't manage his alcoholism better, you know? Like I was never pressuring him to like quit drinking, but I wanted him to figure out how to manage life better, right? With alcohol, not without it, but just do better. Like I could drink and go to work and keep a job, and for some reason he couldn't. Like he kept getting you know, appointments to different churches, and he'd be there for a year or so, and they would like figure it out, you know, that like this guy's drunk all the time, and he would get fired, and we would like start over in a new town and a new church and a new house and a new life. And it's like, oh, you know, this is going to be like the new start, new fresh start, and life's going to get better. And I was always like wishing and hoping and praying for life to get better, but it was never actually getting better. It was always getting a little bit worse every single day. And yeah, so that went on for 10 years. When I was 30 years old, I found Alcoholics Anonymous is what happened first. It was my original sobriety date was February 18th of 2014. That day, my ex-husband, he had gotten arrested for his third DUI that year. And in North Carolina, with your first DUI, they take your driver's license. With your second DUI, they take your car and they sell it at auction and give the money to the state education fund. And your third DUI, you go to prison. And this was number 3. And this one, I couldn't throw enough money at to make it go away, right? Like everyone was going to find out our little secret, right? That we thought we were hiding so well for so long. Like we thought no one, you know, we thought no one knew, and now he was going to prison and everybody was going to find out. Like there was no way for me to hide my secret anymore, basically. And I was freaking out. My world had basically like come to an end. It felt like, what I thought was like the worst day of my entire life. Turned out to be the best day of my life. But I went and bailed him out of jail, and that was the first day he ever said to me, I think I might be an alcoholic. I think I maybe need to go to one of those meetings. So at that point, he had no car and no driver license. And I was like, all right, I'll drive you. And since I'm driving you, I'll like stay with you. And I was trying to be like supportive of him getting sober, right? And so I went to my first AA meeting under that guise, and what I discovered there was not what I was expecting. I heard people talk, like real talk, like talking about their problems and airing out their dirty laundry and talking about their feelings and being vulnerable. And I had never experienced anything like that. I had never experienced anything like that in church. I had never experienced anything like that in my own family. Like it was weird because it was like so uncomfortable, and yet at the same time it was like, oh my God, where have you people been my whole life? Like I felt like I finally found the island of the misfit toys, you know? And so I really felt like I could identify from that very first meeting. I was like, oh my God, like I need this, not just him. Like I need this. And so that first home group, it was a meeting that met at 7 a.m. every single day. And so I started going at 7 a.m. every single day. And my ex-husband, he went for about 2 weeks, and then he stopped going. Like he wasn't ready. He did not have a desire to stop drinking. And but I did. I felt like I had found like some kind of priceless treasure, and I felt like those people just threw me like this lifesaver, and I just grabbed on with everything, and I wasn't letting go. So I kept going. I just kept going. I just kept going to the meetings. I just kept staying sober. And he was facing prison, but the court date was still a few months away. And I was just listening to what everybody was telling me to do in AA, and and then 2 months went by. I was 60 days sober, and he got drunk one night, and he ended up pulling a gun on me, and putting it to my head and making me beg for my life. And I was able to get away, and I left, and that was the last time I've ever seen him. So I went to a domestic violence shelter in my town where I was living, and I loved the other women there, the other survivors. They were awesome. But the social worker that ran the place, she wasn't a survivor herself. She just had book knowledge. And I'll never remember, she said to me, I said, I'm never going back. I'm not looking back. I mean, he had been abusive the whole marriage. So, it was like one of those where, like, okay, every time he's drunk, he doesn't hit me, but every time he hits me, he's drunk, kind of thing. And usually it was in a blackout, and then the next day he didn't remember it. So if he didn't remember it, then in his mind it didn't happen or whatever. So anyway, I just said, I'm never going back. I'm not looking back. I'm sober 2 months. I'm saving my own life. Like I'm moving forward. I'm not going back. And I remember she looked at me and she said, we'll see. And I said, what do you mean we'll see? And she said, on average, women have to leave their abusers 7 times before they stay gone. And I remember calling my sponsor, and I was really upset, and telling her what that social worker had said to me. And she said, well, you have something that a lot of women don't have, Anna. She said, you have a higher power. You have a sponsor. You have a home group. You have something called a program. And she was right. Like, to be honest with you guys, nothing happened that night that had not happened a dozen times before, right? Like, I'd been with him for 10 years. The only thing that was different that night was that I had a higher power, and I had a sponsor, and I had a home group, and I had a program. I had a solution, right? So, yeah, so I know I'm running out of time, but I do want to mention my relationship with God, because like I said, from a young age, I got very religious. enough so that I wanted to become an ordained priest in the Methodist Church, which I did, and I was for 14 years. But what I've learned through recovery is that my relationship with God for most of my early years was a very codependent one. And by that, what I mean is I needed God to need me. That's what I thought in my sick head. It was like, God needs me to do his work for him. And I mean, then I'm just telling you guys, my sick thinking was like, I'm out here busting my ass all day, every day, doing God's work for him. Right. And like, I've earned this right to like drink and get some relief because I'm so stressed out doing God's work for him in the world, right? Because his lazy ass won't get up and do it himself. I mean, I'm just telling you guys, like, that's how sick my thinking was. I just saw God as one more person to try and please. One more person whose approval I needed to somehow win. It was just not a healthy relationship, right? Like I didn't know how to have a healthy relationship with anyone. So how was I going to know how to have one even with God? So my journey of spirituality has taken me down a lot of different paths. When I came into recovery, they said, you can come up with your own conception of God. And I'm thinking, like, you don't understand. I have a master's degree in theology. Every conception of God that has ever been written about, I have read and probably written a term paper on. So, I just didn't get it. I knew all the concepts of God, right? Like what were you going to tell me? But knowing about God is not the same as knowing God. And I know that, and I know the difference now today, and I didn't for most of my life. So, AA was the first place that really gave me a safe container to explore and ask myself, like, okay, well, what is my own personal conception of God, right? Instead of like trying to figure out what the right one is. What is the one that's going to get me approval? What is the one that's going to get me validation? What's the one that's going to get me a rubber stamp? Like, I was free to really explore, like, who do I think God is, right? And I just had never been given the permission to just like search and seek and explore and figure it out for yourself. Like you don't have to fit in some kind of box, right? That was the first time anybody had given me permission to do that. So, early in sobriety, I had a substance abuse counselor I was seeing for therapy. She also happened to be a yoga teacher, and she decided to start this program for her patients called Yoga for Recovery. And what she did was there was a group of 6 of us. We were all women. We were all new in recovery. We were all seeing her for therapy. And none of us had ever done yoga or meditation before ever in our lives. And she took us through a 12-week intensive program. We met 3 days a week and learned yoga and meditation. And, by the time that 12 weeks was over, we went from like beginners to, like pretty advanced meditators and yogis. So that really started me off on exploring outside of the traditional Christianity that I had been brought up in, that I had grown up in. So, so I started to study yoga philosophy, not just the exercise, but like actual yoga philosophy. And I started doing meditation and taking it very seriously. And eventually went on to become a yoga teacher myself and started teaching yoga and started teaching meditation to other students. And I started having a lot of other experiences too. I was just exposed to a lot of different traditions. I have been exposed to shamanic spirituality. I've sat in on like ceremonies with shamans in the caves of Mexico. And, I've sat in on sweat lodges. I've sat in on cacao ceremonies. I actually facilitate cacao ceremonies now. And I just have had a lot of different spiritual experiences. Today I'm really into actually quantum meditation and quantum energy. And, I've had just like these incredible experiences in these kind of realms of spirituality outside of traditional Christianity. And so, for a long time, I tried to balance all these new experiences I was having, with my old beliefs in Christianity. But ultimately, a couple of years ago, I was kind of forced to kind of like make a decision, like, what are you, And, I just decided, like, the truth is I don't really identify as Christian anymore. And that's okay. Like, and so I did like surrender my credentials. I'm no longer ordained priest in the Methodist Church, which is a big deal because I did that for 14 years. So, so that was a really big deal for me, but I just, one of my sponsors told me a long time ago that God doesn't need me to tell God who God is, right? Like, I hope that I never have God figured out, ever. I hope that my concept of God is constantly evolving, constantly growing, constantly changing. And, recently I had a really powerful experience with God, and I have always known that God loves me, but I really truly felt in my heart for the first time in my life, I felt how much God loves me. And it's just been an incredible experience. So I just share all that to say that, well, a couple of things. One is there's a story in the back of the big book. I think it's called like Physician Heal Thyself or something like that. And he talks about, like, he's a doctor, and he says, I had to go to the carpenter and the baker and the mechanic to like find out who God is, And I love that line because I'm like, here, this ordained priest with like a master's degree in theology, and I had to come to like AA to find out who God is, and like to find my own conception of God. And I just love that, that this program has given me the opportunity and the safe space and like a safe container to just explore. And that exploration, like I said, never has to end. So I do believe that, I know today that, that I'm a real alcoholic, that I am beyond human aid. I know that. I know that I am beyond human aid, and that means I'm beyond AA, because AA is a human aid. I'm beyond the big book. The big book is a human aid. I'm beyond meetings. Meetings are a human aid. Now, do I go to AA? Yes. Do I go to meetings? Yes. Do I read the big book? Yes, because I'd like to enlarge my spiritual growth. But are those things what keep me sober? No. The only thing that can keep me sober, the only thing that has a power to keep me sober is God. And that's it. And God can be whoever or whatever you want it to be. And it can keep growing and evolving. And you don't ever have to really figure it out. So I hope that, my story, somebody can relate. And I hope it helps somebody. Thanks for letting me share.
Thank you so much, Anna.
I'm like getting emotional over here. I'm like, it's making me emotional.
That was so good. That was so good.
Yeah.
That last part needed to be said tonight. Like, because we're always trying to figure it all out, right? We trying to figure it out. Like, it's this like mastery of something, And thank you so much for coming on here tonight.
There's a lot of comments that could relate to Justin.
Yes.
I don't know if you want to read them or Caesar wants to read them, or I can read them.
I just wanted to say, that somebody told me one time, if you think you've got God figured out, and if you've got God so figured out that you can just put God in a box, then your God's not big enough.
Mm.
And
Mhm.
you need to keep seeking. And
Mhm.
Kelly can vouch. I'm a very black and white thinker, but when it comes to my higher power, I could not give you a description. I could not draw you a picture. I cannot place he, she, or it in any type of box or any type of bounds. And I have to be okay with that, because that's what I need. I need omnipresent. I need it to be unfathomably large to deal with my unfathomably large problem.
Listen, and as black and white as Caesar is over here, you'll appreciate this. Before this podcast, I'm a quantum energy facilitator, so I can facilitate it, and he was letting me do quantum healing on him, and for the first time, Justin actually called me.
I need to know.
Sorry, doing quantum healing on Caesar, and Justin's like, what?
I don't know what he did wrong.
Got to remain open-minded. That's all.
Hey, listen, the only thing I know about is quantum leap, and if you don't know what that is, this proves my age right there.
I love that.
Oh my God.
Yes.
Yeah, so let me let's see. We got first and foremost, we got Dominic, and he is new into recovery, for April 30th, 2023. Welcome, my friend. Thanks for tuning in. I hope you got something out of this tonight, man. Keep going.
Welcome, Dominic.
Let's see. We have we got Lady Spellbreaker. She says spirituality is more of a life experience. I'm learning more of the afterlife since my daughter left this world from opiates laced with fentanyl. Thanks for sharing your story of healing and recovery.
Sorry for your loss.
We got Ashley. Your story is so important. Your story shows that no one is immune to this disease, from CEOs to pastors and preachers, and all the way down to the grocery store cashier. This disease can take hold of anyone. Way to help break the stigma.
Yeah. My disease could not care less that I was a pastor. My disease could not care less.
And you know what? Sometimes I can get caught up in that. Like, I don't fit. It's so weird. This is probably just a symptom of my disease. But like, I'll hear people's stories and how bad they got with drugs. And I'm like, I can't relate. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it really, truly, it can impact everybody. And our stories are just as important,
Yeah.
Lady Spellbreaker again says, "Wow, I went to 2 shamanic
Ayahuasca.
Demonic ayahuasca retreats."
Yes.
Yeah. Spirit is really working with angels for this confirmation and synchronicities. Thank you, angels.
Ooh, we have integrated some woo-woo into the Hope Shot, and I am so happy.
What do we do?
What's
going on right now?
You and I, we didn't do anything.
Oh, okay. I was like, wait. I don't even know.
Some good energy, Justin. We brought some good energy up in here.
I like good energy. Thank you for
Soul Support says, thank you so much for your truth, Anna. And we love Soul Support. See, we got Tiff. Tiff couldn't make it on, but she said, glad you're here. Welcome. And I'm assuming that's to Dominic.
We hope you feel better, Tiffany. Tiffany was supposed to be on, but she's not feeling well. And Nathan's sick too. So everybody send Nathan and Tiffany some good woo-woo as well.
He's been sick.
And then Lady Spellbreaker finished with beautiful story. Thank you for sharing. And then, it's a lot of people doting on you here. We got Lisa. Thanks, Anna. Jamie. Your story was amazing and so beautiful. Oh, we got Danielle.
Yeah, hey, Danielle.
Amazing, Anna. Love you, lady. I'm so glad I got to catch your story.
Love you, Danielle.
Let me see. Oh, we got to put Helen up here. Helen, thank you so much. Your story is amazing. And Stevie So much good stuff, Anna. We'll definitely have to come back to this and take notes.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Feel free to DM me as well.
Yeah.
yeah, I will put this
You have to
out there.
comment.
It's I get to see Anna weekly, and I look forward so much when she shares, when she opens her mouth. She's somebody that I listen to, and I get quiet and pay attention because she shares from the heart. She doesn't hold back. If she's having a bad day, she'll let you know about it. If she doesn't like something, she'll let you know about it. If she's care about something
She'll
and
let you
she's
know
filled
about
with
it.
love, she will let you know about it. And it's the kind of people around me. So I appreciate you on a weekly basis. And, I appreciate your influence on my wife. And, it's cool. My circle keeps getting wider. And
Mhm.
the way that I perceive things because of the influence of people around me changes, and it's cool.
Yes, I believe that every person, one of my very first sponsors, she taught me a prayer. She said, say this prayer, Anna. Thank you, God, for the people you have brought into my life. Thank you, God, for the people you have taken out of my life. Thank you, God, for the people you have left me with. And that has been my story of recovery. I've moved a lot, and every person God has brought into my life has been for a reason. Every person God has taken out of my life has been for a reason. And I just thank God every day for the ones that he's left me with.
And the beauty of moving with that flow and not trying to hang on to things, or people
Exactly.
that don't, but trusting that the people that were taken away for a reason, and the people that are brought in are brought in for a reason, and not trying to fight that process is beautiful.
Melissa, you want to say anything?
You guys sound so mature. I leave claw marks and shit still. I don't just let go of everything.
And that's not saying that it's easy. Like there's a lot of things that are hard to let go of, and especially if they're not just people, but ingrained ways that you're brought up, or truths that you believed for so long. Moving along that's a hard thing to just be like, okay, see you later. God wants me over here,
Yeah.
Time.
Dana, I just wanted to tell you thank you so much for sharing your story. And you shared pieces of it that are so important to other people's recovery. I'm not sure that maybe we're alike, maybe we're not, where you're speaking and sometimes you don't know exactly what you're saying. You just let God kind of lead you. And then afterwards you have to watch it back to see what you even said. I felt like you had that flow coming out of you. And I believe that there's people, including myself, that needed some affirmation and some of the things that you touched on tonight. And so you being vulnerable and sharing and opening up is a beautiful thing. And so I'm truly, truly grateful for it. I'm glad that I get to be, a part of that. I love that. But there's one thing that stood out that you mentioned. And, you always hear, when you hear other people's stories, you're like, I've got the me too. I'm like, me too. Oh, me too. I can identify and relate with a lot of stories, or bits and pieces of it anyway. But I understand what you're talking about, basically saying that when we try and make God be what we think God is, and my spiritual awakening that happened really went into full force, and it hasn't slowed down. It still terrifies me on a daily basis. I'm like, wait a minute, what are you doing now? Like, I'm not ready for that. He's like, come on, let's go. Really? And I follow, because every time I do, and I understand this energy and I relate it to God, and I'm becoming familiar with it, right? And comfortable. So we're building a relationship. It started with me letting him show me who he is, instead of me telling him who he is. And as soon as that switch, I'm getting chills talking about it. As soon as that switch happened, and y'all know me, I'll I start telling him who he is again, and he's like, "No, girl, that's not how this is going to go." So I'm not a stellar student of God. I know that I believe, and I know what I felt on my basement floor, and I know what he's shown me over the years, and I know this recent last couple of years with following the writing journey and all of that, he's revealed himself to me more. But the most important thing that I agree that you basically were saying that I want other people to kind of think about and see how it resonates with them or meditate on it is that when we allow him to show us who he is, our world will open up. Our ability to have a source of strength will open up, and all of the other things that you hear about, the unity, the love, all the things that come with recovery, he is our source, right? And so once we have that gate open, all of those gifts come pouring in, whether you want them or not. Be ready. So
yes,
it's
well said.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing that you brought up. And it's something that, I'd like to look into a little bit more with my writing, because people don't understand how to make, okay, so I have to have a higher power. Well, what does that mean? Well, my whole life I've been this, or my whole life I've been that. And you kind of went over that tonight. That's a source of strength for a lot of people. So thank you so much. I feel grateful to be spending some time with you.
And it's different for everybody, right? Like you guys, most of the viewers we have on here have been on pretty consecutively, and they hear Nathan talk about his God of his understanding, and he calls that God's source. And so when he's talking about source, he's still talking about the God of his understanding, the source of all things. So you'll hear it talked about in different ways. And I think most of us here on the Hope Shot, have some sort of God of our understanding. Different recovery programs have different ways, and we particularly do it where we have a spiritual component to our recovery. But everybody's God of their understanding looks in their experience of their God of their understanding is different and called different things, but it's all the same in some way, shape, or form. Like, if that makes any sense whatsoever.
Hey, I know a guy whose higher power is the Force, and he's been sober for 7 years. And so the Force is strong in that one. But
I would just want that just to say that, you know what I mean?
you know what? This guy sat down and showed me the Jedi tenets, and I read them. And I was like, okay, those are really strong principles to live by. I don't see anything wrong with this at all. Not that I'm here to judge it, but I just never knew anybody that said that they had the Force, and that's whatever. It's working in his life. It's what he believes, and it's what he hangs his hat on, and it's backed by strong principles. So who am I?
Well, listen, so we were just talking about how if you're able to get to a place where you can open up yourself, maybe it could be through all kinds of avenues. Mine was through those 12 steps and through situations. And then, of course, I believe I had a divine intervention, but everybody's going to be different. The way that God or source or whatever what your relationship is can reveal himself to you is going to be different, because we are all unique creations, right? So my relationship and the channel and the pathway that I'm on, like working in a church, I still can't believe they let me work in a church. Like they did a background check, and they called the office manager, and they're like, "Are you sure?" And she's like, "Positive, the girl's in the right place." But this, where I'm at, is the channel I was supposed to be, even though I fought even that, right? And it's proven. If you look at look behind the path that I walked, I was right where I was supposed to be. But how that source is going to reveal itself to Justin or to Anna or to Kelly or to Caesar or to anybody out there listening to me ramble on and on right now, when you're allowing it to reveal itself to you, and you're open to and receptive to that, it's going to be a way that's unique for you, where you can hear it, where you can feel it, where you can taste it. All of the senses that we use to connect in this human being that we are in, that's how it will touch you. Is it through people? Is it through music? Is it through creative outlets? it'll work for you, and you will know that it is right and that you are in the right spot because you're have opened your soul to that opportunity. And it's really no other way to explain it. Once you feel it, you'll say, I know what they were talking about that night on the Hope Shot. Yeah, that's right. That's how it goes. But
It's so important too. That's something that Anna helped me really hone in on, because for the longest time, I'm a feeler. Like I feel things and I feel things strongly, and they can like overtake me. And really recognizing, and it might sound a little too big, how God was speaking to me through my feelings, and really being like centered with myself, and this feeling means this and this feeling means that. It's something that, you know, working with Anna and kind of honing in on that I've gotten such a greater understanding of many things by doing that.
Yeah, same. Yeah.
I like what you said, that he'll reveal himself to you as you are, you know, individual to you. Because if I'm day 2 of recovery and Kelly and Anna are sitting next to me talking about the things they talk about, I'm wrong. I'm like, yeah, well, I'm clearly in the wrong place because this is not. But I'm just being honest.
Yeah,
I mean, come on.
No, you're right, Caesar. You can be intimidated easily.
But that's not where I was placed. I was placed in a room with a bunch of old timers, and Nav, a bunch of old timers, a bunch of basic ass dudes that were like spoken a language that I could understand.
You needed some basic ass talking to.
He needs pictures and crayon writing. That's what he needed.
Yeah, no, that's what I needed. This guy called it the Build a God workshop at one point, and I was like, okay, I can understand that because I know what a Build-A-Bear is, so I can understand that.
And Anna mentioned this too while she was talking. I love this too, though. But look at where you are now from that basic ass Build a God workshop. You are in a place. You're in a place, in a divine place, where you and your wife were sharing a moment of energy work together, and you were like, "Let me be open to this. I don't know if I'm buying into it, but I'm going to give this a try." And you don't know where that's going to lead you. Do you know what I mean? Or you could be talking to a Catholic, and I could be about a conservative aspect of something, and it might make you think and expand. So you're always growing. Your relationship with your source is always growing, especially with the unity around you. And it's wonderful to be surrounded by so many people with different beliefs and ideas.
I can give you a perfect example. I can give a perfect example of what Caesar is talking about. So when I first came in, my very first sponsor was a woman named Julie. And this is how my higher power was at work without needing my help to do anything. My higher power was at work in my life and brought Julie to me. Julie's father was an Episcopal priest. And so she knew that pastors are just people too. And most people, 99% of people you meet in the world when you are pastoring, do not see you as a person, like a normal, average person, you know?
I work for them. They're pretty normal people.
Yeah. But she had that insight. She because her father was an Episcopal priest, she understood and that I was just a person too. And she didn't look at me differently, and she didn't treat me differently. And she was the exact person I needed to be my very first sponsor, because she understood, and she said, your relationship with God is way too intellectual. And she said, you need to fire the God of your current understanding, because that hasn't worked. And she helped me find something, those very early days of sobriety, that was different enough to just get me to think outside the box. And we ended up making the magic nursery fairy from the Velveteen Rabbit my very first higher power.
Great.
Really? Huh. Okay. Listen, I'll tell you this, that Ito, he brings it up a lot too. A lot of people are church hurt. You know, you're talking about like when you first come in and blah, 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 and everybody thinks higher power, and put it over religion and stuff like that. But you're in this whole, and listen, I'm intrigued by this whole quantum thing. So it just sounds cool. I don't know why, but it sounds cool. So like I'm the person that struggled with the whole higher power thing for a long time. I'm 5 years up in this thing, and people right now, my people are my higher power, and they have saved my ass time and time again. And now I'm starting to do meditation. I've been doing meditation for the past 30 days now, every day. Whether I think I'm stupid or not, I'm by myself. Okay. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, there's a hamster and it's like running a mile. It's doing a marathon as I'm doing it. I'm like, don't you even look, don't open your eyes. And like, that's the things is like I needed that because like, man, it was like this thing. I was in a dark place, man, you know, and like, I couldn't get out of my own way. And that higher power stuff, I have no clue what the hell I'm doing. I don't know what any of this stuff is. Nothing. So these people that I have in line with me, those are my higher power. They're the ones that are keeping me sane, at least.
Yeah.
I'm not going out there. So this meditation stuff, I'm intrigued by it now, and I've been doing it every day for the last 30 days, and it's really helped. I'm not gonna lie.
So
Doing certain things. Yes.
Can I share something with you, Justin?
Yes.
We so not to go too much about myself, but it's
yeah.
I stopped praying years before I actually found recovery because I only prayed when I was in trouble or only foxhole prayers. And then it got to the point where I had been locked up so many times and seen the jailhouse preachers that come in and out that I was just like, I'm not even going to be a hypocrite. I'm not going to call on him for anything. I'm going to let God do God things, and I'm just going to be the shady dude that I know I am, and I'm not going to bring God into this. Yeah. So when we moved into this recovery process, and you can't wiggle around it, we're going to talk about a God of our understanding. I read my prayers off of a little card that I got at a meeting because I didn't know how to pray. I read a prayer in the morning and I flipped the card over and I read the other prayer at night. And then I caught myself, I don't know how far along it was, but I caught myself reading the prayer, but having this dialogue besides the prayer. And I was like, oh, that's what they talk about when you're having a conversation with God, because I wasn't just reading the prayer anymore. And that's all it was. When I say like spiritual kindergarten for me is what I needed. But that's what I shared,
freaking pictures.
That's what it was for me. And then eventually I didn't need the card anymore because I was just having a conversation with God. But it didn't start off like that. It was
right. I talk about that in my book, Caesar. I talk about how I talk about how it was awkward, like dating, like I was dating, like I didn't know what to say. I didn't know how to do it. I didn't, you know what I mean? Like I was wobbly. I don't know. And I grew up with God around me. I just didn't know him. I knew of him, but I didn't know him. So I totally can relate to what you're saying.
Yeah, I knew what everybody else told me.
Yeah.
I didn't have my own experience.
I should be in Overthinkers Anonymous because that's exactly what I do. Doesn't matter what it is. All right. That's what I do. I'm like, oh God, is it supposed to be those lightning bolts? Am I doing this right? Oh, exactly what I did. What do I do with my hands?
Meditation is so good for that. There's no wrong way to do it. There is literally no wrong. You're doing it right. Like it is. There's no wrong way to meditate.
But it's the truth.
Keep going.
Thinking,
Yep, keep going.
Hey, you might be doing it right, but in your head, you could be doing it more righter.
Stop it.
Right?
He's no friend.
Oh man, why was I fuck this up?
Oh man, hold on. I love this. Where is it? I overthink putting peanut butter on bread.
That's it. And it happens. Like it happens.
I think that's one of the hallmarks of
us people in recovery. We can overthink the best of stuff, you know what I mean, or the worst of stuff. It doesn't matter what it is. you know, because we're perfectionists at heart. You know, we want to make everything just right. It's got to be just right in the right groove. And
yeah, and it paralyzes you from taking any action, because if I can't be perfect, I definitely don't want to do it. So I'll just stand right here and stay stuck.
Stay in the safe area over here.
Oh, that's good stuff. You want to hit a couple more comments, because we're already past time.
Yeah, this was
this is a good one. I really enjoyed tonight. You know, definitely a good perspective.
And Anna, anytime that you want to just jump on with us, shoot us a text, and you're always welcome to come on.
Hey, listen, you guys, too, just to throw this out there, like, I know that we do the podcast, but we have a lot of cool things coming up for the Hope Shot. As it comes in October, we're starting a whole kind of program that we have funded, and I want to bring, I kind of talked to it with Anna, to some of the yoga for the 12-step. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's called Y12SR. It stands for Yoga for 12-Step Recovery. And and what you do is it's an hour-long meeting, and the first 30 minutes is a topic, recovery topic discussion meeting. And then the next 30 minutes is yoga, and I weave the topic and the shares into the yoga class and into the movements that we're doing with our bodies, so that the meanings of, the topics and the words and the shares really get into your body, not just in your head.
Yeah. So if you're local, if you're here in Pasco, I would just stay tuned, because I would really like to bring Anna into some of this work that we're doing locally here. Or we can do it virtually.
We can do it.
We can
do it.
Hey, but Justin, let's wait till we get really good at it first.
Stop.
Come on, that's funny though.
That's hilarious. I like it. Ito, what's up, fam? Keep up the good work. Good to see you, my friend. Just talking about you. Let's see. We got Lady Spellbreaker says meditation, breath work, and yoga twice a day changed my life.
Amen. Me too.
Let's see. We got Soul Support says meditation is good no matter what you believe in. It's key.
Absolutely.
And then we have Helen says the best thing about God is there's no right or wrong. So as long as you find one. If not, I'm gonna be it, right? That was the problem for a long time. Let's see, and that's it. That's it. So Anna, thank you so much for coming on. Melissa, thank you as well for coming on too. And Kelly, thank you all for being on here and giving that little information out about meditation, quantum, all kinds of stuff, man. This is cool.
Big things going on.
Big thing.
Thing.
So join us next Sunday, 8 p.m. live right here in the Hope Shot. If you guys just join us new to this, we go live every Sunday to share topics, and we share at the last Sunday of the month. We have a story just like Anna. So join us next Sunday. And until then, love y'all. Have a great night.
Bye, everyone.
Music's